Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today, we have the American Blade Works Model 1 V3. As the name would indicate, this is the third iteration of the Model 1. There's also a Model 2, and also American Blade Works does a cool little utility knife thing. One-man shop, all 100% made in the USA. Pretty cool knife. $185 is what you're looking at for one of these, and for what you're getting, not too bad, especially considering it's 100% made in the US by one dude. Pretty cool knife. We'll get to it as it goes on. It's not a perfect one, but pretty darn cool. As I said, $185 for that price. You are getting an S35 VN blade with this really cool kind of bead blasty finish on it. Aluminum handles, nice milled titanium pocket clip. And these very nice milling lines and stuff. It's a very good looking knife. Nothing fancy, but I have to say, I really do like the looks of it a whole lot. It really kind of impressed me. Fit and finish also seems to be excellent. I had no flaws there whatsoever. But let's do some specs and some size comparisons before we get too much farther. We have an overall length of 7.9 inches. You have a blade length of 3.25 inches. You have a blade thickness of 0.13 inches, handle thickness of 0.5 inches, and the weight, according to my pretty crappy scales, my good ones are not working at the moment. They finally died on me, I think. Maybe they just need new batteries. About 3.3 ounces. Don't take my word as a bond on that, but I always put the weight in there, so it might be a little lighter, a little heavier than that. Either way, very good EDC weight nonetheless. Size comparisons, we'll bring out our usuals. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. Probably have to scooch these up a bit. We're zoomed in a little bit on this one. You can see it's pretty much between the two, closer to the PM2, I guess. And next up, we will do the full-size Benchmade Griptilian and the full-size Bug Out. See, as I expected, just a little bit bigger than a Bug Out. And next up, we'll do, since we have them out here, a couple other American-made aluminum handled knives. So why not? We'll do the ProTech Malibu. Just a little bit bigger than the Malibu. And the Mordax. So yeah, kind of right between those. And then we'll do one more American-made knife that's very much in this exact same size and price range. We have the Southern Grind Spider Monkey, just a little bit bigger than the Spider Monkey is. Now let's talk this knife. The thing I am most impressed about this, again, this is my first experience with this company. As I said, this is version 3. I know he's made improvements with every single one. It is a one-man shop, so every run is a bit different, a little bit better, a little bit improved. I do like that a lot. But the thing I'm most impressed with on this, and I know this was changed a bit from previous models, is the blade on this thing is just ridiculously good. First of all, I love the shape of it. Just a nice simple drop point. I love that it has a really good sharpening choil, S35 VN. I have no problem with that. On a USA-made knife for this price, no issues at all. Blade stock isn't terribly thick, but it is, like, depending on where you measure it, it's like down to like almost 11 thousandths down here up to like 13 up at the tip. So it is screaming sharp out of the box and a very, very thin behind the edge knife. This thing is a slicer extreme, but you don't have a thin tip at all. You have a very good usable tip. This is just a great blade. Love the blade on this thing. I have zero complaints whatsoever about the blade. It is fantastic, as is the ergonomics. I really love this a whole lot. This milled clip is new, and whatever they did to change that, no hot spots whatsoever. It's just super comfortable. It's one of the most comfortable knives in my hand that I've had. You can choke up a little bit if you want to, and you have that sharpening choil there to protect you a little bit, but you don't have anything to stop you from slipping forward, so be careful, but you can do that. But I never felt the need to do that very much. The flipper tab winds up being a pretty good finger guard there. The texture is nice and grippy. I wouldn't mind seeing some jimping somewhere, maybe just a little bit up here, just some light like jimping or something. But other than that, man, I have zero complaints about the ergonomics. It is so comfortable in hand. This knife is just a joy to use. Absolutely. It's just with that nice slicey blade and the ergos, just, hacking up cardboard, stuff like that, or any task that's going to take you a little while. This is a good one. This is a good one for my hands, which again, I have large size hands, skinny fingers, but like a normal size glove hand, and normal human palms. But yeah, the ergos on this are just excellent. And that blade is very, very good. Now, as far as the carry goes on this, pretty good, and not too bad. There's one thing. Sorry, ye old Wranglers need to be retired, so I need to get another one. But the pocket clip on this with this mill pocket clip is very much improved over the old one. I can tell just from videos I've watched and stuff. It used to have these two screws, if you can see them in there, are for the liner lock, and they used to not be recessed and the clip landed right on them, so that was a pain. Now they are recessed and you have this nice milled clip. They don't catch anymore. I could stand there to be a little bit more ramp there to make it slide in and out of the pocket. It is pretty slim in the pocket. There is a significant flipper tab sticking out, a significant pocket pecker, as Nick Shabazz would say. It's not a huge deal, though. There's not a lot of jimping on or anything. It's not super sharp. I wouldn't call it the end of the world, but it is there. It is something to be noted. The weight is fine. No big complaints about the carry other than a little bit more ramp and a little bit less flipper tab. But unfortunately, that brings us to the deployment. Where's the downfall of this? And that big old flipper tab is kind of needed. The detent on this is pretty weak, and I know I'm not the only one. I talked to a couple of people on Instagram, saying that they had the same sort of problems. It's just, obviously, it opens well if you give it some authority, but it is super easy to fail. Not hard at all. You definitely want to give it some authority. I will say, though, that once it's open, one of the things I like about it, I hope I can show here, is that's a whole lot of locking surface. So once this thing is open, it is locked up. It ain't going anywhere. I spine thwacked it, all that. And it does make a glorious sound. It's just, you have to really give it some authority when you open it. You can shake it open too, which I think I can probably even do it on camera. Yeah, so keep that in mind. It is definitely a weaker detent. I did take it apart. I did try to crank the lock bar tension up a little bit. It didn't do much. I think it's more to do with the detent ball interface than it is to do with the tension on the lock bar. It does lock up extremely well once it's locked up, but you got to give it some authority. And unfortunately, the other thing I don't like about the deployment is when you go to close it, it's you got to kind of reach in there. And they could definitely stand to have some more milling here. He could definitely stand to have some more milling in there to make it easier to reach that lock bar. I find myself usually actually using like my fingernail to grab it. It's just my thumbnail. It's kind of easier, but thumb's a finger, right? But yeah, that's really my only flaw with it is the action, but it's a pretty big flaw. But honestly, for the price and that blade, I almost forgive it, but not quite. I really hope there's a V4 just with some kind of different something with the tension on it. I don't know what it is with that lock bar or why that's causing it. I did notice that when I took it apart and tried to adjust the detent on this a little bit, it was a little easier to bend that lock bar than I'd like to see. So don't know if maybe that's the issue or what it is, but it feels more like just the detent ball doesn't sit down in there far enough. It is a pretty tiny little detent ball inside there. It is ceramic and everything. Other than that, it's smooth enough. It's not super smooth closing, but it's just that action just doesn't make it quite what I like to see. Like I said, I almost forgive it because that blade is just so freaking good and the ergos are so freaking good. And I definitely want to encourage this maker to keep doing stuff like this. Do a V4, just fix the detent a little bit. And this, if that detent was, 30% stronger, this would be like Knife of the Year category. I really do love that blade and the ergonomics that much. I love the looks that much as well. But really well put together. I think the price is right. I think it's an amazing design. Just fix that detent a little bit. We like them snappy. That's just kind of how we are around here. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I very much enjoyed my time with this knife. I've been Brian. Have a good one.